Someone criticizes you. They expect you to defend yourself. They expect an explanation. But instead, you say nothing. And suddenly, the entire dynamic changes. Most people think power in conversations comes from saying the right words, winning arguments, defending your position, explaining yourself perfectly. But in many situations, silence is actually the strongest response. In everyday conversations, most people react automatically. Someone criticizes them, they immediately defend themselves. Someone questions them, they rush to explain. Someone pressures them, they justify their actions. These reactions happen almost instantly. But there is a hidden problem with this pattern. When you react immediately, you allow the other person to control the emotional rhythm of the interaction. They push, you react. They provoke, you defend. They escalate, you explain more. Over time, this creates a predictable emotional loop. And predictable reactions are easy to manipulate. Some people learn that if they criticize you strongly enough, you will start explaining yourself. If they pressure you long enough, you will eventually give in. But when someone suddenly refuses to react the way people expect, the pattern breaks. Silence interrupts the emotional rhythm of the conversation, and when the rhythm breaks, the power dynamic changes. The other person no longer controls the interaction. Silence works because it creates psychological uncertainty. Human communication depends heavily on predictable responses. When someone criticizes you, they expect resistance. When someone challenges you, they expect arguments. When someone provokes you, they expect emotion. But silence removes that expected reaction. And suddenly, the other person doesn't know how to interpret the situation. Are you offended? Are you ignoring them? Are you thinking? Are you disagreeing? This uncertainty creates tension, and most people feel uncomfortable with unresolved social tension, so they try to resolve it themselves. They keep talking. They explain more than they planned. They soften their tone. Sometimes they even begin correcting their own words. Silence also communicates something subtle but powerful: emotional stability. When someone stays calm and quiet during tension, it sends a signal. You are not emotionally controlled by the situation. You are observing instead of reacting, and people instinctively recognize that difference. Silence doesn't just affect individuals. It also changes group dynamics. In group conversations, people often compete for attention and validation. Arguments become louder. People interrupt each other. Everyone tries to prove their point. But a calm, silent person introduces a completely different energy. They're not competing. They're observing. And this observation changes how others behave. Some people begin explaining themselves more carefully. Some become more defensive. And some suddenly become more respectful. Why? Because silence suggests awareness. A quiet observer is often perceived as someone who is analyzing the situation rather than reacting emotionally. And people behave differently when they feel observed. Silence becomes powerful when it is intentional. Here are 3 practical ways to use it. Tool 1. The 3-second pause. When someone says something emotional or confrontational, pause for 3 seconds before responding. This small pause immediately breaks automatic reactions. It shows that you are processing information rather than reacting emotionally. Tool 2. Neutral presence. During tense conversations, maintain calm body language. Relax your posture. Keep your tone neutral. You don't need to fill every moment with words. Sometimes simply listening is enough to shift the dynamic. Tool 3. Strategic non-reaction. Not every comment deserves a response. Some people provoke reactions simply to gain attention or control. When you refuse to react emotionally, the incentive disappears, and without a reaction, the provocation often fades. Tool 4.
the reflective response. After silence, respond calmly and briefly. Instead of arguing, acknowledge what was said. For example, "I see what you mean. I'll think about that." Short responses combined with calm silence often reduce tension immediately.
If someone asks me, "Why are you being so quiet? Do you disagree with me?" I don't rush to explain. I pause. Then I simply say, "I'm just thinking about what you said." Sometimes they continue talking. They might say, "I didn't mean it like criticism," and I answer calmly, "I understand." Very often, after a moment of silence, they begin to rethink their own words. They might even say, "Maybe I came across too strongly." And I simply respond, "Maybe." Sometimes silence gives people the space to reflect on what they said, without me needing to argue at all.
Here's a small experiment you can try this week. During your next difficult conversation, practice a pause before responding. 3 seconds of silence. Observe what happens. Do people start explaining more? Do they soften their tone? Do they adjust what they said? Often, the moment you stop reacting automatically, the entire interaction changes. Because sometimes the strongest message you can send is calm, controlled silence.